It gives me great pleasure now to bring on board the Steel Secretary of India, Mr. Sandeep Poundrik, to talk about the impact of the new duty, how things would change for the Indian industry per se, and at a time when everybody is saying tariff, 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 how is India prepared for the new world? Sir, so nice to have you back on ET Now. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for calling me. Thank you.
We had the interview slotted at 10 o'clock, but you've managed to accommodate this 10 minutes early. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Finally, duties are at play. How do you see the new duty structure which has been announced by the government? How will that change life for Indian steel sector, companies and the consumer?
So, the present status is that safeguard duties have been recommended by the Director General of Trade Remedies. They have not been implemented yet. They are under consideration of the government. So that's the present day status on duties. As you know that 12% duties have been recommended by DGTR, and then certain caps have been suggested so that the price does not go too high. So I think the DGTR recommendation seems to be fairly balanced. While he has tried to give a competitive price to the domestic steel industry, he has also tried to ensure that the price of steel, which is a raw material for many downstream industries, does not go above a specific band of price. So I think that's a good recommendation, and it's under consideration of the government, and it should give a lot of support to the domestic industry, because what they were saying that low cost and low quality maybe steel is being imported from certain countries. That will if this duty is stopped, if this duty is implemented, that will probably reduce or stop.
Sort of timeline or anticipation and expectation as to when the approval could come in on the safeguard duty?
I can't give you any specific timeline. As you know, it's prerogative of the government, and multiple ministry consultations are involved in this. So it's Steel Ministry, then Commerce Ministry, Finance Ministry. So I really can't give you a specific timeline.
Whether it'll happen in Q1 of the fiscal or second half of the year, but completely understand. The other question, sir, that everyone's asking is whether this 12% safeguard duty is going to be enough for the sector to absorb the global shocks.
Yeah, so if you actually see the price trajectory in the steel for last 1 year, HR coil is normally the price for flat products. This is the base price normally which is seen. The prices came down significantly over last 1 year as compared to what they were in March 24. But in last 1 month or 2 months, the prices have shown some stabilization even before the safeguard duty was recommended by the DGTR. And in long products, there has not been much decline in prices. They are okay as compared to earlier prices. But flat products were seeing a lot of decrease, and there seemed to be some upward swing for last couple of months. So I think a 12% duty should be sufficient, because what we should understand is that the overall import of steel in the country is not very high. It's about 7, 8, 9 million tons. But that works, or that becomes a sort of a benchmark price for domestic industry. So if because of this duty, the imports are discouraged, then the domestic prices will also increase to a reasonable level. As I have said, I think also in the last interaction with you, that for India, it is important that steel companies, both in private and public sector, and both the ISPs and the small scale industry, have enough capital to invest to meet the domestic demand in the foreseeable future. As you know, that India is the only major economy, while the world is seeing only a steel growth of 0.5 to 1%. The World Steel Association says this year's estimate to be about 1.5% worldwide. India is showing an increase or a growth of about 11%, 12%. This year it is 11.5%. So by 2030, we will have a demand of 270 to 80 million tons of steel. And to meet that, we will need a capacity of 300 plus million ton. And that basically means that more than $100 billion investment is required. So I think that's an important point for prices to be kept at a reasonable level, because if the steel industry does not have the margin and the capital to invest, then in the long run, we may become dependent on import. And that will be against the spirit of Atmanirbhar Bharat. So that's why it is important that steel industry gets a remunerative price, though they will have to remain competitive at the international level.
Okay, sir, now tariffs are at play. We are talking about the safeguard duty coming in, where there were these different factors which were at play. There was a, World Trade Organization, everybody had to follow certain mandates. But in today's time, when tariffs are just getting imposed, reciprocal tariffs are getting imposed, how do you see the dynamics of the steel sector changing in the light of what the US administration is trying to do? How do you see that changing?
See, one thing which I'm talking only about steel sector, one thing which we should note is that the 25% duty on steel, it was there earlier also, that it's not a new thing which has been imposed. The only thing which has changed recently is that the waivers which were being given under a bilateral agreement between India and US, they have been withdrawn. So the duty was there, same duty of 25%. Now, if we see the volume of steel trade between India and US, that's not a very significant quantity. Last year, that is 23-24, the volume was less than 100,000 tons. This year it is about 137,000 tons. So it's hovering around 100,000, 150,000 tons, which is a very low quantity as compared to India's production of roughly 150 million tons. At the same time, the import from US is very low as 25, 30,000 tons. So I don't see much impact of US duties, which are not new, on Indian steel sector. And anyway, I think Indian consumption growth in itself is enough for Indian steel industry to grow at a very fast pace. And what we are seeing is that if you actually see the announced plans by ISPs, from 104 million tons of capacity, the integrated steel producers, what they have announced plans for up to 2030 to go above 200. So they are doubling their capacity. Same time, small scale industries are also increasing. So that shows that the steel sector also is very optimistic about India's growth in steel sector, and the market is showing the same thing what we are anticipating.
Okay, I'll come from tariffs and the duty to India. Now, steel sector historically has always grown in and around the nominal GDP, plus or minus 2%. If India's GDP is growing at 6 to 6.5%, nominal GDP is 10%, when do you think steel sector will align with its historical averages? Right now, steel sector is not growing in line with the nominal GDP. Next 3 years, do you think Indian steel sector will grow in and around India's nominal GDP?
I think you're right. If we take the 10 years average growth of GDP and steel sector growth, that has been, as you said, the steel sector has been growing at about 1.5% more than the GDP. But if you see the recent growth in steel sector, that has been much more than the GDP. Now, certain studies say, and that's a very interesting point, that when the per capita consumption of steel in countries go above 100 kgs, then the steel sector growth becomes much higher than what it used to be. As you know that we have crossed 100 kgs in this financial year. We were 97 till last year. So we have crossed 100 kgs, and that basically means that the elasticity between GDP growth rate and steel sector, which as we were seeing was about 1.1, 1.2. In my expectation, it will go much more than that, and maybe 1.5. It should remain between 1.5 and 2. So that basically means that steel sector will grow much higher than the GDP, and that's also because of the government's push on the infrastructure. So if you see this year budget, also 11.5 lakh crores have been announced in the budget by the finance minister for infrastructure. Now, government is also giving funds to states for a 50-year loan period to invest in infrastructure. Then there's 1 lakh crore urban challenge fund. So all these funds and money available from government side also, in addition to private sector growth, will basically mean that steel sector should grow higher than its historical average so far.
The spirit of my question, steel industry in India is a non-critical sector. It is a sector where one would say that government is calling it non-critical, so the energies and the interest may not be there. They just want to keep the sector alive. I mean, is that a valid concern? That is non-core है जी, छोड़ दो.
That's a difficult question. So basically, I think what you are saying is that when the government made sectors for disinvestment, steel was put in the non-strategic sector as far as the disinvestment is concerned. But I don't think this means that steel is not an important sector. That was for the purpose of disinvestment. Now, that basically means that government really does not emphasize too much on having government control on the sector. And as you know that the steel sector in India is primarily now its ownership is with the private sector, be it ISPs or be it secondary steel. But that does not reduce or decrease the importance of the steel sector in the overall national growth. Because as you know that steel is backbone of all the industry, infrastructure, everything. So steel remains an important sector for the country. Whether it is controlled by the PSUs or private sector is not that important.
Good morning, this is Shaila joining the conversation. I just wanted to divert your attention to SAIL, given the fact that the capex outlay for SAIL has now been hiked actually to about 7,500 crore rupees for the current fiscal year. I wanted to understand about the details of that and how will the capex look for SAIL at least in the next financial year, because we're just coming to an end of FY25.
So as you know that SAIL has announced the plans to go from its present capacity of about 20 million tons to 35 million tons by 2030. They are working on it, and that will mean basically an investment requirement of $15 billion, roughly 120,000 or 130,000 lakh crores, 1,000 crores. So right now they have already started on expansion of their Burnpur plant. From its present capacity, they are adding 4 million tons of capacity. That work has already started on the technological packages. Probably next financial year, that work will start on the ground. They are now working on Rourkela and Bokaro plants and also examining the Bhilai plant. So in total, they are planning to add 15 million, out of which 4 million ton will roughly come from debottlenecking or augmenting the present capacity, and rest will come from greenfield projects. So we should see a significant investment in infrastructure, in expansion by SAIL starting from next year. That is from 26-27.
Right. Sir, lastly, I just wanted to get your view once and for all to clear the air. Given the fact that steel sector, yes, you have a lot of news flows now coming in for tariff, what the government will do to protect the industry. A final word for all of them who are watching the show right now, and would like to hear from you whether you can allay all the concerns with regards to the sector. The sector will be in firm footing, the government will back it.
I think there's no doubt even earlier that government will ensure that the sector grows in line with the country's growth. In fact, as I said earlier, at a higher growth rate. We are bringing a lot of policy changes to support the sector. So there's a national steel policy of 2017. We are reviewing it in view of the present status. We will bring a new steel policy. There's a policy for domestically produced steel. So all government departments are required to procure domestic steel. Then we have created a new fund for research and development in steel. We are also ensuring that substandard steel is not brought in the country by covering almost all grades of steel in the quality control orders and BIS standards. So government is fully with the steel sector, and all required policy changes, policy supports are in place and are being augmented. So I don't think that steel sector needs to worry at all. In fact, I see as we are 200 million tons presently roughly, I see that in coming years, we will grow very fast in terms of consumption and capacity. And India will be the emerging giant in this sector.
Appreciate your time. You've been very, candid and very accommodative with the interview request. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.